Rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Welcome to another Quran study, brothers and sisters. We are going to read from chapter 22, verse 78, Pilgrimage. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Abraham, original messenger of Islam, 78. You shall strive for the cause of God, and you should strive for His cause. He has chosen you and has placed no hardship on you in practicing your religion, the religion of your father Abraham. He is the one who named you submitters originally. Thus, the messenger shall serve as a witness among you, and you shall serve as witnesses among the people. Therefore, you shall observe the contemporary salat and give the obligatory charity zakat, and hold fast to God. He is your Lord, the best Lord, and the best submitter. So, here are a few key points like that that are mentioned in this verse, and like we can summarize them as God says, work hard for God's cause. So this means doing your best to live by what God wants, similar to putting effort into a very important goal or project. Like humans in this world, they put a lot of time and effort into going to school, going to work. They're striving for their own personal cause. But what's important for us is to strive for the cause of God, actually, because this world is going to end, and everything that we do for this world is going to vanish. It's going to end at a point. For us, that will be the moment when we die, of course. We're going to leave everything behind us. And something that we learn from the Messenger of the Covenant is he gives the example of, like a mathematical example actually, where he says if you compare this life with the eternal hereafter, which is infinite, this life compared to that life is like nothing, it's zero. So everything that you do for this world is going to end and vanish, and everything that you do for the hereafter and the works that you do for in the cause of God, they will stay. So even mathematically, it's smart to work for the hereafter and work for God instead of for this world. Of course, we learn from the Messenger of the Covenant and from the verses of the Quran how we can do that. And God explains us, of course. He tells us what to do in this life and how to live our life. So the second point is that God has chosen the people for a special relationship, and the relation isn't supposed to make life difficult. So this assures followers that our practices are manageable and meant for our well-being. Like the commandments that God has given us in the Quran, like to pray 5 times a day, to give the charity zakat, to do good, not to lie, not to cheat, to keep our chastity, that kind of thing. Those are all manageable things and all can be done. And one of the things that the devil has done every time, what he does is he tries to change the rules of religion. For example, the 5 times prayer that we have on a daily basis, the Sunni Muslims or the Shia Muslims, they do like the amount of prayers that they do is much more than what God has commanded in the Quran. One of the other example is the prayers that they do in the time of Ramadan. They go to the mosque and then they do it, of course, very quickly and very fast. But these things are like not commandments of God. These are all made up by the devil and people are following it. And it's actually very difficult. There are also rules like how to enter the home, how to enter a toilet, what to pray. There are so many things that the devil has made up and people are believing and doing it. It's very difficult. Like you need to read a certain prayer before you eat, before you like go outside or go in. Like there are so many things that I remember that the imams and our parents have taught us that even at those times I was thinking, okay, this is very difficult. Like so many things you need to do. You need to concentrate on all these details. And then you forget what the real purpose of life is and what the real purpose is that God has sent us, like from in the Quran. And these people, like they fell into that trap. And it's important to like know that the religion is not difficult. The commandments are very easy to follow, because God says that He doesn't want us doesn't want to make it difficult for us. The other point is the connection to Abraham. So God connects us to back to Abraham, because he is the key, or he was the key figure in our religion, and he was the father of submission. So this means that we are following the same tradition, believing in one God. And Abraham, and that we can see in the footnote down, it says, although all messengers preached one and the same message, worship God alone, Abraham was the first messenger to coin the term submission Islam and submitter Muslim. 128. What did Abraham contribute to the submission? We learn from chapter 16, verse 123, that all religious duties and submission were revealed through Abraham. The 5 contact prayers, the Hajj, the charity zakat, and the fasting, they all are came revealed through Abraham. This is what we learn from the Quran and the Messenger. The fourth point is the role of the messenger and the followers. It says the messenger, he is the religious leader, of course, shows people how to live according to the religion. And God sends messengers, right? Like we learn from the Quran that Muhammad was not the last messenger. He was the last prophet, because the Quran is the last book, but he is not the last messenger. And when God sends messengers, he sends them with a certain information. And it's important for us to, accept this information and follow it, and live accordingly, according to these rules and the things that God has sent us. God tells us, of course, to pray and to give the obligatory charity zakat. So regular prayers are a way to keep in touch with God. Like 5 times a day, we try to keep in touch with God. It's very important. We learn from the Messenger of the Covenant that these are big meals for our souls. So it's an opportunity to feed our souls in these moments of prayers. And God is repeating this throughout the whole Quran many times. Like praying 5 times a day and also giving the obligatory charity zakat. And then the 6th was to stay close to God. So it tells us to always stay connected to God, like who is seen as, like God is the best protector and helper. And this means trusting and leaning on God through our total lifespan. So what we learn from this verse is like we need to live a good life, an honest life. We need to help others, and we need to stay connected to the tradition that came from Abraham of believing in one God, and of course trusting God as we do all these things. And this will help us redeem our souls in the hereafter, God willing. We go to chapter 23, Surah 23. The name is the believers, Al-Mu'minun. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Successful indeed are the believers, who are reverent during their contact prayers, salat, and they avoid vain talk, and they give their obligatory charity, zakat, and they maintain their chastity. Only with their spouses or those who are rightfully theirs do they have sexual relations. They are not to be blamed. Those who transgress these limits are the transgressors. Yeah, so here are also a few things that God is mentioning and telling us what the characteristics are of believers. So he's giving success here is likely to mean both, like, yeah. So with success, what do we understand with success, right? In this life and in the hereafter. That's until this time, until the Messenger of the Covenant came, most of the people, they thought that, this world is meant to, that people are going to have extreme difficulties, and you get your reward only after you die. But this was also like made up by the devil. But we learn from the message of the covenant that you can have success in this world. It starts in this world. And he says that clearly. He says that when you follow the message that God has sent, and you follow all the teachings, and you put your trust into God, and you put all the effort, you work for the cause of God, then it starts in this world. Um, and it comes with the perfect health, perfect wealth, and of course perfect happiness. He also says that it can be sometimes very difficult to accept this, right? Like, how is it possible that someone is going to have perfect health, like without even having headaches? But it's true. Like he says, mark my words. Like you're not going to have even headaches. He says you are going to forget what headaches were. So, and this is a promise of God. God is promising. So we should believe in this, and we should strive towards that cause. And of course, God says again, believers who take their prayer time seriously and pray with respect and focus, that they are on the right track. And praying properly is a key part of our success, because the prayers are the biggest meals for our souls. And to be able to go to heaven, the thing that we need to do is we need to grow our souls. So all these commandments that God has given, and all the totality of the message in the whole Quran, is meant for those who are going to make to heaven. It's showing the path. It's showing how to grow our souls. And if someone follows that, his or her soul will grow. And if you don't follow that path, then it's not going to grow, and you're not going to make to heaven. One of the other things that God is mentioning here is he says that believers avoid unnecessary or useless conversation. So this includes like gossip, lying, or any talk that doesn't bring value or is harmful. Like God has commandments in the Quran about praying, about charity, about zakat, about how to act in certain ways, right? And one of the things is how to talk. It seems a small thing, right? Like a lot of people don't think about it. Most people they don't mind talking in a certain way, which is not good, which can be harmful even. Or they do a lot of gossip, you know. But it's important not to do that. It's very important to, when we talk, we shouldn't like talk unnecessary. We shouldn't talk about unnecessary things or useless. We shouldn't have useless conversations. Like this doesn't mean, of course, that we can't have fun, right? When we talk with each other, we can have fun. We can like, because in our worldly life we have children, we have spouses, we have certain friends, and what I understand from this message is not those things. Like sometimes people are just talking about unnecessary topics, or like that doesn't make any like things that are so useless, basically. And you have a lot of people who are doing that, and God says in the Quran that we shouldn't do that. Like we should be careful when we talk about things. And also again, God talks about zakat, and zakat is a specific kind of charity that is required in our religion, and this helps take care of the community and ensures that the wealth is shared among all of us. And we know that there's a specific line that we need to follow. It starts with our parents, the brothers, sisters, and our nearest kin, and we should follow that. We shouldn't like go and help someone else if our nearest kin needs the money. We need to follow what God has taught us in the Quran. We shouldn't make things up, because like with this zakat, most of the people they actually don't know this. Even if you talk with them and you tell them you need to give the obligatory charity zakat first to your parents if they need it, then they say no, but you need to help your parents. Like even like zakat doesn't count for them. You need to help them anyways. But the Quran doesn't say that. The Quran says that we need to give the obligatory charity zakat to our parents first, and then to our brothers, the sisters, and like the inner skin, and then the yatims, and so on. So that's also a lie that the devil has made up, probably, because like a lot of people are believing in it. And even if you show the Quran verses and you tell them that it needs to go to your nearest kin, first of all, they don't believe in it. But this is what the Quran says, and this is what we learn from the Messenger of the Covenant. It goes first to your nearest kin. So the other thing is that believers do not engage in sexual activity outside the bounds set by the Quran. So there is something, maybe this verse we can discuss after I finish, but like only with the Quran says only with their spouses. Like that means that we need to marry first before we can have any sexual relations with someone. That's very important. The Messenger of the Covenant gives a lot of examples and talks about this topic as well, and he gives examples of how not keeping your chastity can ruin someone's life. Not only that person's, but a total family. Like when there is a girl who's going to have sexual relations with someone, and that person is not going to be there, and she can get pregnant, and then she can't go to school. Like a lot of things will change in her life, or the other way around. Like even if you, like for example, in a lot of places in the world now, very young, in a very young age, children, they are actually still children, they are having sexual relations with each other, and they don't know, and they make a lot of mistakes, and then girls become pregnant, so their life changed totally, and from a young age they need to take this responsibility of parentship, right? But they are still children who have children. Like that's not what is good for society. And in the audios and videos, the Messenger of the Covenant talks about this. He even has a discussion with Eric about this, like that Eric says, yeah, it's the school systems right now, it's corrupt and it's not good, etc. But the Messenger says clearly, like we have the best education systems at the moment in the world. Like you have universities, schools, like there's some kind of a system. Of course, it's not the perfect yet, but the perfect until now. This is like very good, and everyone should go. Everyone should study. Go to school and know the world, know the information before you get any relations, before you get any children. And the lastly was, if someone goes beyond these rules, like engaging in sexual activity outside of marriage or permissible bounds, they are considered to be doing wrong. And it's very clear in the Quran that it's wrong. And these verses outline the characteristics of like true believers and what makes the believers successful. So our devotion in prayer, the speech, how we talk, the charity that we give, and the adherence to moral standards regarding sexuality is very important. So it defines a clear moral framework for behavior and sets the standards that followers are expected to uphold. So God gives us with these verses a standard, like you need to do these things to be successful in this life. So this also gives an idea about if a lot of people, they don't believe in God, right? And they don't believe in the messages that God has sent, the books that God has sent. And like most of those people are like atheists, and they come up with these laws and ideas how to live your life and how to have relations with people. And they can't explain why someone shouldn't have a sexual relationship with someone which you are not married to. So you can even they can't even explain incest relations, why that is not okay to do, right? So why, or for example, cheating or lying. If someone can cheat and lie and he can benefit from that, so why is that bad for that person? Of if someone can steal, if you can steal and you don't get caught, why is that bad for that person? They can't explain this. They can't give a good reasoning for this. But if we look at the Quran and the message that God has sent, we can clearly see it's not there is a hereafter. And because there is a hereafter, because there is a judgment day, because you are going to be punished for the things that you have done, this is a good example, or this gives an explanation why we should follow these things and why we should do that. And of course, there is also this important thing that we have a soul, right? And besides this body, there is a soul. And we learn from the Messenger of the Covenant that he says that the biggest problem in this world is not poverty, it's not wars, it's not all the bad things that are happening, but the biggest problem today is that people don't know who they really are. So, and because they don't know who they really are, they look at the mirror and they think that their body is them. Like they think, okay, this is the body and that's what I am. But in reality, it isn't like that. There is a body and we say, it's my body. So this means that there is something else, right? Something in the body that controls the body, and that is our souls. And people focus in this world totally on their body. They go to work, they go to schools, they study, they buy houses, like nice clothes and perfumes, and eat nice food, and they do it all for the body, which will eventually die in a day. So because of that, because people really don't know about the soul, and their priorities are mixed up, they put all the effort and time for their body, they forget their soul. And forgetting their soul means that they can't be happy. Because to be able to be happy, you need to feed your soul, you need to grow your soul. And we learn from the Quran that the only way to grow your soul is to commemorate God and to follow all the commandments of God and the commandments that He has sent, and follow the messengers that He has sent. That's the only way to have salvation, and it's the only way to be happy in reality. And this also shows that the devil can never be successful in his cause. We learn again from the Messenger of the Covenant that, devil is trying his best to make the people in this world happy. He's trying very hard, he says, but he is just incompetent. He can't do that. And if you think about it, like the only way for people to be happy is to commemorate God and to follow the message of God. So how much he tries, like how long or for how long, how much he even tries, like it's not going to work for him, because he doesn't want people to commemorate God. He doesn't want people to follow the commandments of God. So he's trying to deceive people by that. Like if there's a person who's trying to commemorate God or follow the commandments of God, like he's trying to deceive them. He's trying to take away that from him. But taking that away from him means that that person is going to be unhappy. He is never going to be happy. So it's useless for him. So that's why the devil is very stupid, like that he even doesn't understand this concept of the soul being part of God, and the only way to be happy is to grow your soul, and the only way to do that is to commemorate God and follow his commandments. Like he's so stupid that he doesn't understand this simple concept. And of course all the other people who don't know this, they can try. And we see also examples, right? The Messenger is also given the example of these people who are very successful in life. They have money, they have good looks, they are popular, they have everything that they want in this world, but still they are not happy. The reason is because they don't follow the commandments of God. They don't really know who they are, what they are, and they what most of them do, for example, is buy a car. That makes them happy, maybe for a while, for maybe a day, a week, or a month, and then the feeling goes away. This counts for all of us. Like if we buy some new things, some new clothes that we like, it makes us maybe happy a little, or it seems to us that it makes us happy, but in reality it doesn't. It's some kind of a feeling, of course. Like people say, when you eat chocolate, it makes you happy, right? So it's some kind of chemicals that is sent to your brains. But in reality, because we know it doesn't, that is not real happiness. So people who are rich, who have a lot of money, they buy more houses, bigger planes or yachts or cars. But in the end, it doesn't make anyone happy. So that's why we shouldn't strive for that purpose. It shouldn't be like that. We need to go after these cars, after these homes, and after a more luxurious life. It should be, we should totally go for working in the cause of God. Said that, I want to mention, of course, that God says in the Quran that a rich believer is better than a poor believer, because the rich believer can work, can do more things in the cause of God. Like he has more opportunities than a poor believer, someone who doesn't have a lot of money. But a rich believer, he can like spend in the cause of God, right? He can do a lot of things that that will work for the religion. 8. When it comes to deposits and entrusted to them, as well as any agreement they make, they are trustworthy. So it goes on and it tells us more things about the characteristics of a believer. It says when it comes to deposits and entrusted to them, as well as any agreement they make, they are trustworthy, and they observe the contact prayers, salat, regularly. Such are the inheritors; they will inherit paradise wherein they abide forever. So we can, like, we have read a few verses in the Quran, and like God is mentioning again the obligatory charity zakat and the contact prayers, like he's mentioning them. So this means that this is very important for us to go to the paradise, and to be successful, we need to follow that, because the Quran is not just a book, right? It's a book that is sent. It's from God. So when God mentions the contact prayer salat a lot, so that means it's very important. We shouldn't like take it slightly. We should follow it, and that's the only way how we're going to be successful. So true believers, they are reliable and trustworthy when others entrust them with property or responsibility. Then also when they make any kind of promises or agreements, they take these responsibilities seriously and ensure they fulfill them faithfully. So it's important that when we make an agreement or we make a promise to someone, we need to fulfill our promise. Because it's like lying, right? You say, I'm going to do this, but then you're not doing it. So you're cheating, you're lying. And that's not a characteristics of believers. And of course, we spoke about the prayers again, regular prayer. These are like fundamental practices in our faith. It signifies the continuous and commitment relationship with God, because the contact praise salat is, those are the moments when you have contact with your Creator. And we have that 5 times a day. So it's very important that we learn, and this is what God is teaching us. We need to be in contact with Him 5 times a day. It's not 1 times a day, like, okay, before I go to bed, I'm going to do my prayers, and then, like, that's it. It's not 5 times a day. It's, not 1 time a day. It's like 5 times a day. And it's not like 5 times after each other, like you do the first prayer and then after 10 minutes you do the second one, the third one, the fifth one. Okay, you're done. You can go to sleep, or like you can start your day. It's not like that. It's like before sunrise, you wake up, you have contact with your Creator. Then after, when the sun is going down, and then the second one, and then the third one, like throughout the whole day. Like, this is the system that God has created. And if you don't follow the system, then you're going to be unhappy, and you're not going to be successful. And God is reminding us this so many times in the Quran. 5 times a day, prayers, contact with the Creator. And the Messenger also gives a good example, right? He says, if the what is it called, the White House, if the White House calls you and they say you have an appointment with the President of the United States, it's on Wednesday, 12 o'clock, for example. He says then, are you going to call the White House and tell them, yeah, guys, listen, I have a headache, I can't come, or I have somewhere else an appointment, or I need to go to picnic, or I need to go pick up my children from school, right? You aren't going to do that because it's a very important meeting that you're going to have with the President of the USA. But God is the president of all the universes. He is the creator and the sustainer. He is like, we have an appointment with him 5 times a day, and we all can go to that appointment. It doesn't matter where we are, where we live. We can have contact with him. We can have this meeting with him. So it's very important that we follow that, and especially the dawn prayers, of course. The Messenger mentions that as well, and he says you need to get the biggest clock, with the loudest alarm, and then you need to make sure that you wake up for the dawn prayer. Of course, you can miss like one prayer in a month. It can happen because we are humans. Like, things happen, right? But we should strive towards it, not to do that. We should do all of our prayers because it's very important, of course. And mashallah, we have an app for that. Brother Suleiman has made. It's extremely helpful. Thanks to God, a reminder for all of our prayers. And God says, such are the inheritors, and they will inherit paradise, wherein they abide forever. Like, the reason why this is so important is because the paradise is like infinite, like forever. It's not ending. So the things that we need to give up for our hereafter is you are giving up for an infinite purpose. And a good example is that of Prophet Suleiman. When he forgot to pray the middle prayer, he when he noticed that, like, he let his what was it called? He let his horses go. He left them, and after that, God has given him so many things, right? The things that no one has ever had in the world and never can have, I think. So important. That's why it's very important. 12. We created the human being from a certain kind of mud. The title is Accurate Embryology. We created the human being from a certain kind of mud. A certain kind of mud. Subsequently, we produced him from a tiny drop that is placed into a well-protected repository. Then we developed the drop into a hanging embryo. Then developed the hanging embryo into a bit-sized fetus. Then created the bite-sized fetus into bones. Then covered the bones with flesh. We thus produce a new creature. Most blessed is God, the best creator. And then he says, then later on you die. Then on the day of resurrection you will be resurrected. So I looked up on Wikipedia about the human body, and in summary it says the human body is composed of elements including hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, calcium, and phosphorus. So these elements reside in trillions of cells and non-cellular components of the body. The adult male body is about 60% water for a total water content of some 42 liters. This is made up of about 19 liters of extracellular fluid, including about 3.2 liters of blood plasma and about 8.4 liters of interstitial fluid, and about 23 liters of fluid inside cells. So the contents, acidity, and composition of the water inside and outside cells is carefully maintained. So it says the content, acidity, and composition of the water inside and outside cells is carefully maintained. The main electrolytes in body water outside cells are sodium and chloride, wherein within cells it is potassium, and other phosphates. So, this is a clear proof that, like, it is being maintained, right? And God says that He is the maintainer. He maintains everything. It's not like some kind of an accident that we exist in this world. It is impossible. Like, for these kind of things, you should have trillions and trillions of accidents like happening, to be able to make these kind of things. But if a person, a normal logical person, would think about all the things, all the creations that are visible to our eyes, especially after, we have microscopes, we have like some computers, we can look into very, very tiny things. Even if they're extremely tiny, they are so complex. Before, like maybe 200, 300 years ago, people thought that a cell is a very simple thing. They thought like it's like one drop, or like something that is extremely simple, and life expanded from that small, simple thing. But in reality, after looking into these cells, people saw how complex that whole thing is actually. It's like a huge factory with a lot of components, like maybe millions or trillion different kind of things working all together. And people think that these things, they don't have, what is it called? Like, you need to have some intellect, yeah, right? You need to be intelligent to be able to do a process. Like we humans, when we go to, for example, a car factory, you can go there and then you have some robots working there, you have some people working there, but everything is calculated, everything is being checked and controlled. And even so, people like make a lot of mistakes. The robots and the computers, even they make a lot of mistakes, so things can happen. But and then when you look at the human body, and when you look at the creation that God has created, even the things that people thought was so simple, you can clearly see that there is a creator. And God says in the Quran, right? He says this should be sufficient proof for people who know. Like when you look into an embryo, when you look into the way how the human being comes to into existence, right? Starting with a drop and then forming in the womb of the mother, this should be sufficient proof for a human, for someone. You don't even have to know the Quran, or you don't have to know the other information. Like, only if you can think about this, then you should say, okay, this is being created and maintained by someone, and then start your journey from there, right? Start your journey to find the creator. And after that, looking and searching for the creator. And if you are sincere, eventually God is going to help you towards the messages, toward the messenger, and toward the Quran that he has sent, where you can read this information. Let's say this person is like some kind of a doctor, and then or a professor, or someone who's trying to let me see, yeah, inshallah. So I need to speed up a little bit. 17. The 7 universes. We created above you 7 universes in layers, and we are never unaware of a single creature in them. Of course, this one also we had some more information that came from the Message of the Covenant. He explains how the 7 universes are. We are in the first universe, the innermost and the smaller universe, but God has created other universes. And today people are still like trying to understand that, right? Trying to understand how these universes work. And at the moment, people are thinking that there is something like multiverse, but probably they will learn in the future that there are 7 universes. 18. Innumerable blessings from God. We send down from the sky water in exact measure, then we store it in the ground. Oh. We send down from the sky water in exact measures, then we store it in the ground. Certainly we can let it escape. With it, we produce for you orchards or date palms, grapes, all kinds of fruits, and various foods. Also, a tree native to Sinai produces oil as well as relish for the eaters. And the livestock should provide you with a lesson. We let you drink milk from their bellies. You derive other benefits from them, and some of them you use for food. On them and on the ships you ride. So God gives examples of all the things that He gave to us, like the foods, the animals, the things that we use in this world, and these things should remember us, God, and like when we eat something, then we should think about it, right? Like when you eat an apple, we just shouldn't eat that. First of all, we need to we need to say the basmala in the name of God. We need to eat, because if you don't, then it's prohibited. Even it's like an apple, it doesn't matter. So we need to do that, and we need to think of God, and then think how He created it, and then stand by it, and not just do it, because we are humans. We have a mind. 23. Noah. We sent Noah to his people, saying, O my people, worship God. You have no other guide beside Him. Would you not be righteous? The leaders who disbelieved among his people said, This is no more than a human being like you, who wants to gain prominence among you. Had God willed, He could have sent down angels. We never heard of anything like this from our ancestors. He is simply a man gone crazy. Just ignore him for a while. He said, My Lord, grant me victory, for they have disbelieved me. So these people, when Noah comes to them and he gives them the message, they it's very significant what they're saying. Yeah, they say, yeah, but he's just a normal human being. Like he could have sent down angels. And in other words, in the Quran, God says, if you were angels, then I would send angel messengers. Like because you are humans, I'm sending human messengers. And believing in a messenger is also a test. It's a part of the test. But they have some kind of expectations. Still, a lot of people, they have expectations of their own, and when God sends a message or a messenger, and if the message or the messenger does not fulfill their expectations, then they ignore it and they don't believe in it, and it comes from ignorance. And true believers are the ones who use their minds and who look at the Quran and the messages that God has sent, and by that we can decide if that person is a messenger or not. This is also significant. He said he simply is a man gone crazy. Like they find him as a crazy person, and the reason is they say that they say we never heard of anything like this from our ancestors. Like they are simply following the footsteps of their ancestors. And in another verse in the Quran, God says, what if your ancestors were wrong? What if what they are doing is not right? What then? Are you going to blame your ancestors when you die? Are you going to tell them, yeah, because of you, I am here? Of course they are going to say that, but it's not going to help. So it's important to put your trust in God and not in the ancestors. Then Noah says, he said, My Lord, grant me victory, for they have disbelieved me. We then inspired him, make the watercraft under our watchful eyes and in accordance with our inspiration. When our command comes and the atmosphere blows up, put on it a pair of every kind of your domesticated animals and your family, except those condemned to be doomed. Do not speak to me on behalf of those who transgressed. They will be drowned. And the footnote says, the storytellers have created a mockery of Noah's history. Noah's ark was a flat watercraft made of logs tied together with primitive ropes. In chapter 54, verse 13, the flood was local around the Dead Sea area, and the animals were Noah's domesticated animals. Yeah, like they made a lot of movies about Noah and how big the ship was, and they put in these ships like tigers, elephants, like giraffes, like crocodiles, like all kinds of animals came into there. But after the message, we have learned that it's not like that. It's much more simple than that. 28. Once you are settled together with those who are with you on the watercraft, you shall say, Praise God for saving us from the evil people. And say, My Lord, let me disembark unto a blessed location. You are the best deliverer. These should provide sufficient proofs for you. We will certainly put you to the test. Subsequently, we established another generation after them. We sent to them a messenger from among them, saying, You shall worship God. You have no other God beside him. Would you not be righteous? Like, this is a good example, right? Um, when a messenger comes, he doesn't say, You shall worship God. You have not other God beside him, and you should say, his name, for example, is the messenger of God. Like when Muhammad came, he didn't taught the people to say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. No, he said La ilaha illallah. That's the only thing what he said. He said worship God and God alone. There is no God besides God. You shall worship God. You have no other God besides him. This is the main message that all the messengers and all the prophets that God has sent have given to the people, but people didn't take it seriously, of course, and they found them crazy. The leaders among his people who disbelieved and rejected the idea of the hereafter, although we provided for them generously in this life, said, This is no more than a human being like you. He eats from what you eat and drinks as you drink. If you obey a human being like you, then you are really losers. Does he promise you that after you die and turn into dust and bones, you will come out again? Impossible. Impossible indeed is what is promised to you. So these are the things that people are saying. They don't believe that there is a hereafter. They can't believe it, that there is a hereafter. And then God says, God says, leaders rejected, although we provided for them generously in this life. Like God is the one who is giving them everything, and he gives examples, right? He created so many things and examples, and the only thing that you need to do is be sincere and like to be logical, right? About all the things. But people don't do that. Inshallah, I will stop here. Maybe the time. I hope I let me see. God willing. Thank you for listening. If there are any questions, I think we are running out of time. Yeah. Brother, go ahead, inshallah.
MashaAllah, thank you, brother. So we read up until verse 36?
Yes.
MashaAllah. Okay, praise be to God. Yeah, so, MashaAllah, very nice. I wanted to make a comment on what we were discussing earlier about remembering God and making God our God and making the religion by God making the religion simple and not difficult for us. How it was used to be all these rules and regulations that Satan put in the religion to try to make it complicated for people to understand and remember these things, and then eventually, hoping that they will give up and be repulsed by it. At the same time, when some people come across this information from God, that says that it used to be like people, Satan had made up all these things to make the religion difficult, and so that people cannot follow it by all these extraneous laws and requirements and regulations. That obviously doesn't translate to the idea that they can, for example, live a life where they're unaware of God, where they have very little things to do in order to remember God, for example, right? Like, yes, the religion is simple and it's easy to understand and follow, but that still means that you have to make effort to remember God, right? So, like as it was mentioned, to remember God by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, before eating, thinking about God, before doing anything, remembering God, it's a commandment from God, So, like, previously, when we had discussed that we have to remember God all the time and make God our God every day by, remembering Him, you know, um, like, oddly, like, one of the, so-called submitters, group came up with this idea that remembering God before everything we do will make the religion difficult, right? So people have to understand what it means making the religion difficult and being a submitter. Being a submitter submitter, God says He made us to work hard to redeem ourselves. So we have to work on ourselves to redeem ourselves, becoming a submitter, growing your soul. Obviously, it's going to take effort. It's like, you take somebody to the gym and show them the exercises. You only give them maybe two, three exercises. So it's simple to follow, those two exercises, but they have to do those exercises enough to make them grow and to have an impact on them, right? So I can't say, well, yeah, well, but you just said it's going to be easy. No, it's easy to understand, it's easy to follow, but then you have to make the effort to do that. That requires hard work, right? Just to draw a parallel here, right? It's like you have to practice, you have to do your part in making sure that you follow those commandments. So that part people should understand well, that yes, the commandments are easy to follow, and God will make it easy for you to do those commandments. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park for people. It's going to require hard work from us. God says He made the human being to work hard, made the human being to work hard to redeem himself.
Yeah, mashallah, brother. So, and God also, when you start doing that, first it's going to be like for the messenger gives the example of the dawn prayer, right? He says first it's going to be difficult, but then it's going to be easy. You're going to enjoy, and God is going to help. So this counts, I think, for all of the commandments that God has given. It can be in the first time, like in the first periods, a little bit difficult, but in the end, when you realize that this is all for your own benefit, and like when you grow your soul, you become closer to God. So that makes you strong, right? When your soul is like small and you need to, like you need to do those things. What you said, you need to strive, right? You need to do all these practices, etc. But what I think is that there will come a period or time when things are not as difficult as in the beginning. Like for example, the dawn prayer. It can be difficult in the beginning, but afterwards it's going to become much more easy, and you're going to enjoy more, inshallah.
Yeah, some good points. I think Brother Joshua, when we were reading Surah or verse 6, you had a comment or something or a question about those who are rightfully theirs. Is that
Yeah, brother. So
is
this
that right or
question I
not?
had like 2 weeks ago from another brother. Um, like he says, only with their spouses or those who are rightfully theirs. There are a lot of translations that they translate like
Slaves.
yes, yes, slaves. So
Yeah, so that I think that refers to like as explained by the messenger, common law marriage. Something common in the United States, for example. But like if two people, and there's other societies too that were like marriages and like you don't go through the, I think the formalities like traditionally, but like two people that have only been together, they'll always be together, and that's their intention. You said the Quran recognizes that. So if that is that
yeah, the one thing here, brother, it says like only with their spouses or those who are rightfully theirs. So it doesn't say like I'm thinking out loud, okay? So it doesn't say and those who are rightfully theirs. One, and when I was reading this, I was thinking like, okay, your spouses or those who are rightfully theirs. People may think that when you say all rightfully theirs, they think, okay, you have more than one person, like you have your wife, but then
yeah, they
besides
flip it
that
out
you
of
have,
context.
yeah, yeah. So that's what they think. But
Yeah, I
in
think
this,
that just shows that the disease in their heart. Like they're not satisfied with, like if they're looking at the Quran and trying to misconstrue this translation, because right here we have like all through the Quran, about monogamy and all that, and marriage, and yeah, if they're trying to look at that as other, then that's just silly.
yeah, and you need to look also at the other verses of the Quran which talks about marriages, right? You can't say like, and then if you combine all of them, and the messenger clearly said like we can only marry only with one, only in circumstances where there is war and you have a lot of children who don't have like a father, you can like marry those, but then God says, what does it say exactly? You need to be righteous in between them, but you can never be righteous.
Yeah, but
So
it
it
doesn't say anything about the war, though. It says if only to provide a father figure for the children for, if they're orphans, like these are like strict conditions.
yeah, like in those conditions. Yeah, you're right, brother. So in
Yeah.
difficult conditions.
The other thing I think it's important to mention here is that when we talk about common law marriages versus common law partners versus like actual marriages, right? I mean, common law partnerships are treated almost as marriages, right? And they're recognized in the religion of submission. So let's say you were not a submitter and you found someone you fell in love with and you decided to live with them, and you have been with them with the intention of just being with one person forever. God recognizes that. Having said that, we also know that marriage is a divine institution. It's a commandment from God. That when you do want to get together, you like someone, you should marry. You have to marry them, right? So that means that when we are submitters, we don't go and find a common law partner. You have to follow the laws of God. Now that you're a submitter, and you have to actually get married because this is a divine institution created by God. Yes, that ensures the protection of women. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are more aspects into it, right? First, it protects the woman. You need to pay a dowry for her. The messenger clearly says that a woman is not the same after the marriage, right? So she like people when they want to marry, then they look at the family and at that person, and if she married before, it's not the same when you're looking for someone who didn't marry at all, right? So the first dowry, it's like a financial thing, of course, and to protect the woman. Second thing is like a marriage is some kind of you tell everyone, you say, okay, she is my spouse and he is my husband, so the people know that you are married with each other. When they see you in the streets, they see a man and a woman walking together, then okay, and they know, like most of the people, the nearest families, etc. So they don't talk about you. Maybe people can say, oh, I saw this guy with this girl, but maybe they are not married, and then you can have these difficulties and problems like within the families, like in Turkey, for example, or in other countries. People kill each other for that, when they really do. So it's very dangerous. And besides that, of course,
Sorry, kill each other for what?
they, like, for example, you have these people kill, like, for example, if there's a girl who hangs out with someone which she's not married to, and they hear about this, that there are two things that they do: or they need to marry each other, or they kill the person. They say, oh, you did zina. So yeah. And the other thing is like, there are a lot of people in this world, right? And if there is not a system where we don't know whose child who like, if you don't know the father, right? You don't know the father. The father can go and then be with someone else, and that person can have a child as well, and then these two are like brothers and sisters from each other, but then they can end up marrying to each other because it's unknown. So it's very important for the society as well that that there is a marriage, and that this is recorded as well, right?
Yeah, I also want to comment on verse 27. Like how this also elaborates in the footnote that the storytellers created a mockery of Noah's history. And it just reminds me of like this conversation I was having. Well, I wasn't in it, but I was having dinner at these people's houses, and they were Christians, and like the guy who invited me, and I think one of his just, they were talking about these contractions and stuff that they supposedly had on the ark, and like it was really, it was almost kind of like, as you from the verse you read earlier, it was vain talk. It was just like mindless conjecture. Like they don't have any proof about this, and you can see like the doubt and uncertainty and absurdity and silliness that's come of this. Because I mean, like this one guy was saying, like they had this big cylindrical device, or like he's theorizing, like to some, so like how are they getting fresh water and stuff from the sea, and it was really absurd, and I wanted to jump in and like just kind of subtly comment, like, look, we actually have the truth, and but I think it was like between the two of those guys, it was getting kind of heated, so I didn't. I just kind of listened and kind of excused myself at some point. But yeah, you can see just it turns people off, to the religion, because there's been a lot of people that have like made fun or made jokes or made out of Noah, just from the different stuff, like that's come of it. But that's just I want to say.
Yeah, regarding the story of Noah and the other messengers, I've always found it amusing when you see when God talks about the people's reactions to the messengers and how they call the messengers all kinds of names and saying that the messenger is crazy and stuff like that. I mean, calling someone calling someone crazy is a big statement, and I mean, the thing is, people when they don't understand certain things, like they're not able to comprehend. They don't have the mental capacity to comprehend something, right? And then instead of maybe thinking that why, obviously that they can't comprehend, they can't help themselves, but come to the conclusion that the other person is crazy, right? So it could happen to anybody. For example, you tell somebody what's the right thing to do, and if their mind cannot comprehend it, they'll think you're crazy. Well, they could be crazy, very well be crazy. I mean, not actually like mentally disabled in any way, but I mean, like they could be out of their mind making some very irrational decision or decisions in their life, right? But not being able to comprehend, wisdom. They look at it as crazy.
Yeah, brother, mashallah. And it's the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, the same words used by Ahmed Didat towards the
Mm-hmm.
Messenger of the Covenant. He like crazy and ignoring him.
And
Uh,
Azab,
yeah,
which is a liar.
yeah, like, but also ignoring him. He said, "Oh, we ignore him,
Mm-hmm.
forget about him." They thought that
Mm-hmm.
ignoring him and forgetting about that thing, it would stop the whole like. You have a lot of people coming to this world who say that they are messengers of God and they come with their message. It vanishes so quickly that like it goes, it doesn't stay. But mashallah, the Miracle 19, it is still available and it's going to be available until the end of the world. You can't, it can't be vanished because by ignoring it. So it's a thing that they use, to because like there is also this thing that even if you talk negatively about a topic, you are still talking about it, and then when people who don't know number 19, and even if you say negative things, right, it's possible that that person is going to search it up. He's going to say, oh, what is this 19? He said, yeah, it's a bad thing, but I don't know information about it. And then that person can search, and then he can find the truth, right? He can say, oh no, it is reality, it is a good thing. Like This is like impossible to make. It is from God. That's why they don't even want to talk about it. They try to ignore it because they are afraid that the more they talk about it, the more people are going to learn.
Yeah, it's like that saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity. So that's
Oh, sure. So we have a newcomer. I think we didn't get to have an introduction with Jara, if I'm not pronouncing it wrong. Would you like to introduce
It's
yourself?
pronounced Yara, and
Yara.
peace be upon you guys. It's nice to meet you.
Peace be upon you too, sister. Welcome.
mashallah. Welcome.
God bless you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Also, Marshall, we have Brother Evis. Brother Evis, are you there? Uh, uh, I don't see. Oh, okay, he's gone. Anyways, he dropped out. Okay, so yeah, so I guess if there are any off-topic questions, if there are no questions related to the verses, we can talk about any off-topic questions anybody has. So there must be some off-topic questions, guys. I know we have some off-topic questions. So, brother Dropper, do you have any off-topic question you want to ask?
Give me a second, brother.
Okay. Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention was, regarding the statements made by the people of Noah at the time, when he invited these people to, follow the message. I mean, their cause of rejection is one, he's a human being, and two, he's saying that people will be resurrected, right? So these are two things that didn't have any direct correlation with Noah as a person, other than the fact that he was human. But this has been God's system, throughout the generations, and it's interesting, like what human beings expect from someone that they think would be sent by God. And if God had to, like, if God wanted to, like, really just get people to become believers, based on like wanting to, dazzle them with some kind of, fancy, thing that they want to see, like stairs into heaven and all this other stuff. Like, he wouldn't even need all that. He could just make everyone a believer in the blink of an eye. But obviously, people don't try to understand, like what the purpose of this world is, what it means to have a test where things have to be obscure and hidden for you to be tested. I mean, they think that it's going to be like this obvious thing that they'll see like angels in the sky, or I don't know what, and then they will believe. But God said even then they wouldn't believe, right? Because they're not meant to be believers because of what they have done, what God knows of them. And even God says, if they could climb through a ladder into the sky through it, even then they wouldn't believe. They would say that they have been bewitched.
Even if they see God with their own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
had
when they see God with their own eyes, it's over.
Yeah,
Anyways.
yeah. But I witnessed this, I witnessed this, brother. So there was this person, like a customer of mine, um, and like we were discussing about about everything about religion, etc. And then I was giving him proofs and examples, and in the end, I asked him, I said, "What if you could see God with your own eyes? Would you then believe?" And he like simply said, "No, I'm not going to believe." Like, even if you would see him with your own eyes, like, what is preventing you from believing in God who showed himself to you? Like, but the thing is that the problem is they don't know God. They don't know his attributes. They don't know who God is. And they think God as in a very simple way. They don't have that understanding.
Yeah, that's just as absurd as like saying, because if he could say that, then it's like everything he sees around him, his car, his house, or just a plant or something. Then, but he believes in that, right? But if he's claiming not to believe in, yeah, I guess these people are just the hardcore rebels.
Yeah, and there was this thing that that happened 2 or 3 days ago. I was invited to this place called Discord. I wanted to ask you guys about it. And then there's this server where they come together. They say that they are submitters, and people can come in all of the world and have some discussions, etc. Like, I didn't really like the hype, a place where people can come and ask questions. That's like very good, of course. They can ask questions about submission, and they can, and then you will have people who can answer those questions, and it goes very quickly. That part I really liked, but there is this hype going on. In that place, and it's like 24/7 they are there, coming and going. People are asking questions from all over the world. Like, you have Jewish people, atheists, Shiite people. So can you guys say anything about that?
Sorry, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, what's your question?
Yeah, so it's about this place, the app Discord, and they made a server there. It's called Submission. So I was invited there a few days ago, and then I witnessed how the whole system worked and what they were doing there. Like, there were a lot of people coming in and out, and people were asking questions. There was a lot of discussion going on. Um, some parts I like, but like some things that there is this hype going on, people attacking other people, um, you know, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to know,
Could you be more specific? Like,
yeah, so
people attacking other people.
yeah, like in the way, like for example, I witnessed something that a Shiite guy, a Shiite is maybe the right word, I think. He
Shiites?
Shiite, yeah. So he came there, and then
Yeah, you're glad that you're not saying something else.
yeah, 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 right. So he came
But we
there,
don't say in the US, but I guess in Europe mostly, yeah.
Sheets. We call them Sheets.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and then and he came with his like so-called proofs, and he didn't agree, and then the others joined too, to to try to convert him, I think, in a way. um, but it was like very hyped and very in a very rough
Mm-hmm.
way. I didn't find it very peaceful. I thought about it afterwards, like how it went,
Mm-hmm.
and I started the conversation too. Asked him like questions, like logical questions, right? Because they believe in these books that are written about the prophet. Yeah, so that was a strange experience that I had there. But I think, do you guys know about that Discord place, etc.?
Right. Right. Okay. So what is your like question about it? Like, are you saying like, is it good to have to be in such a place, or is it like, what is your question?
Yeah, so the thing is that a lot of people come there, and in our group we follow certain rules, right? We try to be as specific as
Mm-hmm.
possible, in a good way, to give the good impression of
Yeah.
submission, real submission. So, but you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of people coming there and getting this impression of the
Mm-hmm.
submitters, but like there are so many things
Mm-hmm.
that are wrong, and then
Right.
and they don't have real rules, like not real,
Mm-hmm.
like some small
Right.
things. when
Mm-hmm.
when you say a bad word, for example, or you sue to
Mm-hmm.
someone, then they have something, but they aren't
Mm-hmm.
really. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a real
Right.
impression of a
You
submitters.
talking about like they provide a platform for their housing, provide the platform for people like that are promoting their ideas of other religions and stuff.
Yeah, so it's
I
meant
think you
for.
mentioned the Jewish people.
Yeah, it's like meant for people to come and ask questions about submission,
Mm-hmm.
about religion. Um, but then it's not
Yeah.
really
So.
represented on a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think what I want to say to that, brother, is obviously, you and I talked about it privately. Too. So in addition to everything that we discussed there, I think one of the things that I think was highlighted in that meeting that you were invited to was our Quran studies and criticizing how we conducted our Quran studies and how it's better, on Discord and stuff. But I think like one thing you would notice and everybody can notice is that when you actually see the Quranic studies that are done by the Messenger of the Covenant, how they study the Quran, I think that's a very good example on how a Quranic study is conducted. There's multiple versions, like conflicting ideas that I've seen that have been thrown around to support this type of step, and attributing it falsely to the messenger of the covenant, saying the messenger did this and the messenger did this, which is not true, right? If you We're here to, first of all, our main purpose here together is to have a Quranic study where we can focus on the study and learn and grow, right? And we have examples from the messenger of the covenant. We have how many, like 89 videos from the audios from the messenger where they're having Quranic studies. So plenty of examples, right? And what we find consistently in those examples is the people that are in the Quranic study they're not bringing in random people from the street asking them to join submission. They're having Quranic study where they're focusing on themselves, trying to learn the Quran, trying to learn the laws for
Mashallah.
themselves, you know? they're not in those Quranic study sessions. They're not doing, these hyped up debates about, how their religion, has all of this. And look, like, I have a counter argument, you have an argument, and I have an argument, and there is this constant battle going on of some sort, right? I mean, I've been in such environments, and I think that it is very unhealthy, to say the least, and unproductive and inefficient. And when you want to study the Quran, look at the audios from the Messenger of the Covenant and how they conduct the study. They have a format, like we have a teacher, they go through it. It helps us learn, it helps us research, encourages us to look at the subject, encourages us to follow the continuity of the subject, and then think about that, rather without all of those distractions, right? That's one thing, right? The second thing is that when you are in the Quranic study groups, right? God says, when it says force yourself to be with the believers, the subtitle is Quranic study groups, right? So we should think about, like, why when it says Quranic study groups and it says you should force yourself to be with the believers, it doesn't say force yourself to be with the hypocrites or force yourself to be with the people you want to convert, or I'm saying, like, you want to convert people, first of all, like, so the thing is that, and I come to the conversion part also, we can talk about it more, but the thing is that that's not what the purpose of the Quranic study is. And we get together in these groups so we can better ourselves, and we can join ourselves with like-minded people who can encourage us in the same direction, right? And when you're placed in an environment just like any environment, uh, outside or online, which is not different from a submitter only gathering, you're, like, for example, you're forcing yourself to be surrounded by hypocrites, or you're forcing yourself to be surrounded by the enemies of the religion, which are who are attacking your religion, or who are trying to convert you to Judaism, to Christianity, to God knows what. I mean, you're just defeating the purpose of a Quranic study. You're defeating the purpose of creating a platform to be with the believers, right? So that's why when we conduct our study, I mean, I would only want to talk about the purpose of a study, our study, and why we do it the way we do it, because we want to follow the commandments, and this is how we have learned consistently from the Messenger of the Covenant on how they conducted their Quranic study groups, and how they have, by God's leave, God taught him how to do a Quranic study, and that's how we're doing it, because we're following following him in his footsteps. God said these are the examples for us to follow. And also, another thing is that when we are in these groups with hypocrites and disbelievers, God says we have to run for our life, right? So if you're around these people and you're letting them promote their ideas, you're putting, like, doubt and things like that. You're putting yourself in harm's way, right? God says run for your life from these people, because they can rub off on you. And the opposite to that is to be with the believers, to run from the hypocrites, to be with the believers. And so if you're just going to mix them up together, I mean, that's to your own loss. Yeah, it could add to your numbers. You can boast about it, show off, even, or be proud of it. Simply, people might think that it's harmless, but the thing is, even if you're not just showing off or boasting about it, God says in the Quran that the good and bad are not the same, even if the abundance of bad may impress you. So having large numbers, doesn't mean anything. If you're having a Quranic study, it's better to have less people, but to have people who are sincere submitters, who are focused, right? And just mixing these things like the way it is, or the way it's been said that ours isn't, is the right thing to do, to not mix us with other people. If yeah, the idea of converting to submission, or we already have our studies being broadcasted on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. So people who want to know the message will eventually come to the message this way, right? And if they have questions, they can always write to us. We can write them back. We can have discussions with these people, right? But this is not a platform for us to convert people. This is a platform for us to come and study Quran, be with believers, and to grow. Have our questions answered without like people just talking from their personal opinions. According to the teachings that we know, the things that the thing about all of us is we have already come to the conclusion that this is the truth. We found the true message of God. We know this person's a messenger, and now we can just follow, right? We don't have to go back and forth between whether he's a messenger or not, or whether the proof is from God, or whether we have to follow hadith or not. We don't have to waste our energy and time going back and forth with that while we're trying to learn Quran ourselves and grow from it as we are supposed to. So, to answer your question, putting myself in such an environment would be hurting my soul, right? Because I'm opening myself to all kinds of doubt, all kinds of misleading information from a lot of people, and I won't grow as a submitter. I may think that I'm benefiting in some way, maybe in some certain ways I am, but I'm not getting the full benefit of what a Quranic study is supposed to be. And I'm also disobeying God if I am befriending these other people that are just providing comfort to enemies, or providing platform to false messengers to convert people, or to allow Jews to come and convert people from submission to Judaism, or some other innovation like circumcision or some other ideas. So it's just totally defeats the purpose of having a place for people that they want to come and grow and learn. It's like God has given us a roadmap to create a university like Harvard, let's say, and I want to convert it to I don't know, like a community college where anybody can learn. Maybe not a great example, okay, but I think we get the idea, right? Like not even a community college. Like I want to create it into some kind of a social club, even. I would say, because there's all kinds of people, but not even that. It could be a satanic place at that point, because you have all these satanic elements that are coming and preaching their messagery. So yeah, you have all these mixed messages, and that makes it more confusing, right? Because if you're just promoting evil in a platform, anybody can come and say, okay, yeah, I wouldn't go to this platform because there's evil. But now you've made it more difficult for people, because now you're attracting them with the truth, and then you have the falsehood, right? So that's how Satan does his job. He confounds the truth with falsehood. Now people are confused, and people are going, well, I want to learn the truth, but then there's also all this negativity coming to your way as well, and then you have to distinguish. It's chaos.
Yeah, and the starting point, I think, is also wrong, right? What they think is that they are the ones who are converting people, like because of their knowledge, because of how they talk, and how they can impress other people, and how they can answer them and give some proofs, that I found really like that's not how it works. God is the one who's converting people, and He is the one who is guiding people towards submission and real submission. So that I found like I really didn't like that. And the second thing was it was all about numbers, like so big, so huge, so many people coming and going. Like, what does it matter? Like, what do numbers matter, right? It doesn't say anything about like even in the Quran, right? God says most of the people, what you do, they will not believe, and most of the believers, they will believe only with idol worship. And He says if you follow most of the people, they will guide you away from the path of God. So that was something that like really stuck to me for my whole life, right? Because most of the times people ask questions like, yeah, but how
Stuck
many
with you.
people are submitters there? Sorry.
Yeah, it's stuck with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so because most of them, like especially my family, they were always asking, Jafar, you have these weird ideas. Like, how many people are there who do believe like you do believe, like you? Then, and then, like when you turn back to the Quran and you look at the verses and you look at what God taught us is, in almost all of these examples, like there are just a few who believed numbers don't matter. It's about your own soul. You need to save your own soul. You need to do it for yourself, not for the number of people who are going to come to a group. Like what is it going to change if in our Quran study we have 5,000 people? Like, is it going to change me because of the number? Am I going to change? Oh, okay, we have now 5,000 people coming in, so then now that made me a better believer? Is that the way? Like that I found really disturbing, you know. And then the thing was this, like, even if there is one person with whom I can do a Quran study, one sincere brother or sister of mine, uh, like that would make me happy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I think
Jack.
brother Jack, you have a comment? You want to talk about it?
Oh, he wrote something down.
Yeah. So I think brother Jack, he wrote God guides indeed. He said
We do
we
have
do,
a.
however, have a responsibility to call on God. So yeah, of course. I mean, we have a responsibility. But the thing is, like, as I mentioned,
Can you hear
we're
me?
still doing that. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I had to leave and then come back because I was speaking. I don't think anybody could hear.
Mhm.
No, so like, um, I agree that numbers don't mean a whole lot, right? We do have private studies during the week. Like right now, we're going over the appendices, um, and this is for submitters only. So like, we don't have hypocrites or non-believers coming to those studies. Um, but I do think it's important, at the same time, because you do have people who are sincere and trying to understand submission coming into the server, and we have people that can talk to them. So, and like I came to submission through the Discord server. So,
Mhm. Yeah, mashallah. I think that like for example, many people come into submission. God says where God says that if it wasn't for God supporting of some people against the other, there were synagogues, churches, and mosques where God's name is commemorated frequently would be destroyed, right? So it's pretty much the same idea because, like, because those are the places where submitters come from, right? But the thing is, once they become submitters, I mean, they don't frequent those places, right? They just come to a place where they can worship God alone and dedicate religion only to God alone, where the practices are devoted absolutely to God alone. And then the other thing is that even though there is a dedicated space where there's submitters only, um, this still is not an effective way to have a platform because it still has people still have access to the wrong crowd, right? So there are mixed. Other than those studies, right, where you are only with submitters, which is also debatable to me because there's also a lot of hypocrites in those studies, and which may not be categorized as hypocrites. I think the definition of hypocrites is a little, convoluted here. Is that you still are allowed to message submitters. The non-submitters are still able to message and contact and infiltrate the submitters. They're able to get in on the discussions where their submitters are constantly talking. So yeah, even though there is a separate area where there's only submitters, there's many areas, most areas where there's all kinds of people, right? And my personal experience has been pretty horrible. Every single time I joined the thing, something bad happened. When I say something bad happened, like I got like attacked by one person who was supposed to be a submitter, just out of nowhere, and then I obviously had some kind of mental illness or something, and then another, which is kind of questions, like what kind of moderation is happening, people are just constant, and that person was allowed back in the name, same time again, and that's crazy. And then also, like, I got uh, I wouldn't like, one person tried to convert me to Judaism one day, then another day another Jewish person tried to convert me to Judaism, and was debating with me, like, for in favor of circumcision and stuff like that. So yeah, and you would know from your own experience, right, Brother Jack? Like, to be honest, is that these people may have had repeated discussions with you or with other people in the group, and you know them to the point that you actually know them, like, now by now, right? So this sort of thing, again, it's like going against God's commandments, because you're not running from these people. You're putting yourself in. You're opening the door for these people to come and influence you, right? Even though you may say that I'm a strong submitter, which God willing you are, but the thing is, if God tells you to stay away from fire, and you put your finger in the fire, saying that God will protect you, you're actually going to burn your finger, because God has put the laws in place, right? And for us to be protected, we have to follow the laws.
I'm not going to mention any names, but I was, having a discussion with someone when I was first coming to your Quran studies, and they're like, well, maybe it's not a good idea. They're really closed off, and they're not open to criticism like we are here, or whatever, And I was involved in that first Quran study here, and I went back and I was like, you know what, I really like the platform. It's a small group of people, but I feel like it's effective, and I was able to concentrate and not focus on everybody jumping in, and but I think while the approach might be different, you can still have similar results. Like,
yeah, but what do you think about the commandments being broken, right? About forcing yourself to be with the believers, and not commingling with the hypocrites and the disbelievers, not giving them a platform. I mean, all these are serious concerns as well.
Well, I don't think
you have to, like, if we can address those, like, so far I can't see any of those concerns being actually addressed. Yeah, I see the good coming out of it. That part we both understand, right? Like, you came from that group. We're able to talk to you from that group. Other people may have come into submission from that group. But there's many people who came to submission from total enemies of God. They went to, like, an enemy study, or something like that, where they were attacking Dr. Rashad Khalifa, and that's how they came to submission. But that doesn't mean that now, because that's how God, chose for them to come to submission, that in itself doesn't justify, like, the validity of such a platform, because, I mean, that would be totally satanic, right? Like a Quranic study session where they were attacking the messenger, and that's how someone came to know about, like my wife, mashallah, she came to submission when she heard this religious scholar, who was supposed to be a submitter at the time of Rashad, actually became a hypocrite, and condemned Rashad as a liar and everything, and was having his own followings, right? And then in one of the sessions, he mentioned him, and he said he was a liar and stuff, and that just made her curious, and she went and she found the message. And many other people, I think, actually, Brother Jaffer,
Yeah, via Edip.
submission to Adib Yusuf,
Yes. So
right? So that doesn't mean that Adib Yusuf
I should,
is good.
yeah, I should stay with him, or
Because,
yeah.
yeah, so.
okay, so, like, that's the thing, though, right? Because we do have sincere people. They come in, they want to learn about submission, and at the same time, we have people that come in and their sole intention is to come in and attack submission and attack the messenger of the covenant and whatever, what would you change about the server to make it more in line?
Yeah, so it seems to me, brother, like me hanging out with Edip and then trying to convince people to come to submission. It's like similar thing. Like I came to know Dr. Rashad via Edip, via the discussions that he made on the Turkish television. But after understanding the message, and actually after after this group, this Quran, the Quran studies, I learned that Edip is actually a hypocrite and his ideas are like against the Quran and against the teachings of the Messenger. Um, so it's important to understand if this platform, the whole idea, like it's also similar to, you know, the verse in the Quran where God says, um, a a building which is made in the beginning to worship God alone is better than you know, a building that other people have made where they do idol worship. So it's important to, that's more important than a platform where you have these people talking about submission and actually misrepresenting submission. That's what I saw. It's all about numbers. It's all about, like, when people come, they say, yeah, we don't care what people say, we don't care what thing they promote, you know, but we should care about it because you are helping them to promote these kind of things. Like, even for example, the circumcision. You know, they say they don't believe in circumcision, but they are helping others to promote circumcision. So that's a bad thing. And if you are in a platform where they do these kind of things, and these kind of things are satanic things, because circumcision is made up by Satan and is promoted by Satan, so then you don't want to have to do anything with them at all, because there's also this verse in the Quran where God says, you know, if you do a small, if you are a part of a good thing, you will get your part from that, and if you are a part of a bad thing, you will get your part of that one as well. So you need to be careful with that, where you go, where you stand, especially if there are like hypocrites, of course. Like, you need to run away from them. And like clear and basic information, misguided information about submission, and people who don't care about what other people say and what other people promote, and believing them that this is the way to convert other people, to make submission big. Like, it doesn't fit the example of Dr. Rashad. You know, he didn't had a place where he didn't invite people to come, like, oh, you, everyone can come and then let's discuss. It wasn't like that. There was a masjid, and when people came to that masjid, and when there were people who were promoting bad stuff and bad things, he addressed them. Like, he addressed even Edip, or this guy Eric, or the other guys who were you know, wrong in their ideas. So, and if you have a community where you can come and then you aren't being addressed, and people, like, okay, you can just say whatever you want and you can stay there as long as you want, like, that's a wrong thing. Like, it doesn't fit submission, and it doesn't fit the example that we learn from the Messenger of the Covenant.
Well, yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
So, I don't see Brother Justin here today, but he's been pretty active the last week or so, maybe a little bit longer. And he's doing a really good job. So, like, you know, people come in and they'll ask questions, and he's able to kind of push them in the right direction.
Yeah, he invited me to Discord.
Yeah. So yeah, just to give you some heads up, right? So actually, Justin was removed from our study because of like certain disruptions with based on the similar ideas. You know, like, he joined our study like a couple of months back, and we welcomed him, and you know, he's very good with his mannerism and talking about God and stuff, and we liked that. I appreciated that very much. But you know, he was also behind all of that. You know, there was a lot going on also that you don't know, and you know, so I mean, we don't want to make this about any person here in this Quran series, especially because it's being broadcasted and everything. But like, there were certain issues that were kept coming up, and we just, you know, kept trying to have to deal with them while having him in our group, and eventually, you know, he had to be removed from our group because many people left as a result of the confusions that he created, like a bunch of people, you know, and then, so anyways, so yeah, he's no longer in our studies, unfortunately, and he had similar ideas, you know, and I think it's also a result of the same things, like God tells us, for example, not to be with the enemies, people who are destined for hell, the hypocrites, or the disbelievers who Like, it's one thing to invite people and to have good relations with them, as long as you have to, as long as there's hope for them, right? Once you come to the conclusion that there's no hope for a person and they're destined for hell, that's when you're supposed to cut your ties and you're supposed to cut off your relations with them. And when you refuse to do that, that's when Satan will get you, right? It's a pattern, right? We see that, and people repeatedly, who come into submission, who refuse to see that, are eventually, sucked into something like that, and then, they slowly start to wear off the path of submission. So, yeah, so that's the reason. So when you ask the question about what can be changed, yeah, what could have been changed was that not to allow these people to be in these platforms in the first place, who are there to solely attack submission or confuse people, promote innovations and things like that, But if numbers are so important that they just allow these people, and they say that we want to use them as props to attract newcomers or to impress them so that they can become submitters. I mean, that's not the real way to invite people to submission. I mean, yes, you're inviting some people, but then you're also repelling a lot of people. You repel one person, you could end up going to hell because you now also carry the sin of pushing another person off the path. So yes, I mean, that person deserved to go to hell by becoming a disbeliever, but you also now get your share by repelling this person and setting a bad example, right? For example, we have this example where God says, "Do not shout at the messenger, so that your works become nullified," right? And then the messenger of the covenant explained how that could work. It's like create an environment where someone comes into the masjid, let's say, and he sees you're shouting at the messenger, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of a messenger is this?" They're shouting at him, and they end up leaving. Imagine something so small, right? And they end up leaving. Now you are going to hell. Your works are nullified because you are the one shouting, and you set a bad example, right? And now you carry a share of that. So when you have an environment where you are constantly allowing people to come and attack submission, and so a newcomer comes in, imagine, and he sees all that, and he gets repelled. I mean, how many people join that server? Just think about it, and would come and see these Jewish people or some other people saying bad things about the messenger of the covenant, and then end up leaving, right? We have to keep track of those people also, not just the people who converted. And think about how many of those people left, right? And think about the sin of sending those people to hell, so that's also responsibility. That's the other side of the coin that we have to look at as well. So the thing would be from the get-go is like, don't allow these people. If you know someone's a hypocrite, I've seen many times that these people have said, "Oh, this person is a hypocrite. This person's an enemy of God." But yeah, but you see that they still allowed them, knowing themselves, the moderators themselves, saying that these people are hypocrites. But then, or the owner of the platform, rather, I'd say owners, whoever it is, to acknowledge that someone's a hypocrite or an enemy of God and still allowing them, and just coming up with bad reasoning to justify them being there in the first place. Like, for example, the messenger of the covenant, saying like using some isolated incidents, like, for example, the messenger of the covenant invited somebody to come and have a discussion, right? Because, yeah, you may have seen hope for someone. He invites that person to come and have a debate. That's different. Like, for example, the messenger of the covenant invited his father to come to the masjid for 4 months to invite him to submission. After 4 months, his father said, "I will not step foot in this mat." Imagine his own father. So he said, his father said, "I will not step foot in this masjid because as long as you don't have Muhammad's name next to God in the masjid." And then Rashad said, "God says that the idol worshippers are filth." And he says, as long as you believe that way, you're not supposed to step into the masjid. To his own father, imagine, right? So this is how we're supposed to be. And God willing, you can hear that yourself, right? And then there's other examples like mashallah brother Jafar mentioned. It's like this one guy who we were talking about sexual relations out of the wedlock, and he's talking. This guy Eric is in the study, and he's saying about advocating like, well, maybe this person was righteous, who was like 16 years old and was a believer. She was 16 years old and had a child out of wedlock. And he's like, oh, he's like, is that your definition of a righteous believer? Is like someone who's having this, relations at a young age and having a child out of wedlock? It's like maybe he said maybe you should go back to Switzerland because you're a bad influence. I think you're a bad influence on others.
Yeah, so
So
instead of keeping him there and instead of, giving him all the freedom that he can do and promote his thing, he stops him and he even says, I don't want you to talk here while I'm not here. Right? So, and then there, the opposite happens. Like everyone can say and do whatever they want and talk whatever they say, and no one cares. Like it's not important, no problem. Only if we have so many people coming and going, that's the important thing. Like that is not sincerity. It's not sincerity.
yeah, there's a lot of responsibility here for the bad that is happening there, right? So we have to think about that. You can't break certain commandments to follow certain commandments. You can do those commandments, like inviting people, by not breaking those commandments, right? So if you want to invite people to submission, you can go, for example, to churches and mosques or their conferences and debate with them. But don't bring them into your mosque to commingle with other people and try to influence them. It's like Christians, like if Christians were coming like to convert people, he wouldn't allow them to, come to my masjid, for example, and convert everybody. It's like, or I'm going to have debates with you to show how strong I am in debating so I can bring more people into submission. That's like if you want to bring, even if you want to bring newcomers into submission, like I think you can still do that by inviting them without having these all negative elements there. That's the problem. And the thing is, those people, when you are with such people long enough, you become like them. So by allowing so many hypocrites to be there and being with them for such a long time, you become a hypocrite. So then there's no difference. I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying like if someone's moderating these people, right, and they constantly allow these people and they constantly befriend these people, then they don't even know if they become hypocrites. When they become hypocrites and they start portraying those same traits, right? Then for the longest time, like these people, the moderators, have been promoting circumcision in that group, right? You sent me these articles and the videos that are still up online where these things are being promoted, right? So how can you expect them to differentiate the hypocrites from from believers when they themselves are promoting innovations, attributing them to lives to God? God says in the Quran, "Who is more evil than those who attribute lives to God?" Right? And they're attributing lives to God, attributing practices to submission. They're not part of the religion to other people. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I've spoken with the owner of the server, I guess we'll call him, about the issue of like these debates and things. Like we had a Sunni guy there for like months, and he was there way before I came along. And if I was somebody that didn't know any better, I would have thought maybe his arguments were convincing enough to kind of go down that path. Finally, they jailed the guy and kicked him out, but it did take a lot of pressure. But I do agree with that. Like maybe we should be focusing on people who are coming in, and that's what I personally do. Who are asking questions and genuinely want to know more.
Yeah, the important thing here is not to be with those who are promoting the things that Satan is promoting. Because if you stay with them and you keep staying with them, even if you have good intentions, like God, the one who created us and who knows us best, he says if you stay with them, you become like them. So, and then it's our duty to, to warn, like if we see something which is like um, which is not going the right
Bad
way.
for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which is
it's our
bad for you, then
responsibility to advise you
of course,
to save
because
yourself.
brother, if I'm not going to say this, then there is no difference. Like that means I don't care either, right? Then I can say, oh, no matter, they can come and go, and it's all okay. We have a party here, everyone is welcome. Like then we'll be the same. We'll be doing the same thing as they are. But we shouldn't do like
So
this.
you're
Like
inviting Jackma to be part of that trip.
yeah, so like because I have seen it, like I was there for a few hours. In the beginning, I didn't really understand because he invited me there, and then I thought it was for a purpose, and like that there was someone, so I could ask him to come to the Turkish Quran studies, and I tried to understand the whole system, how it works with the servers and with the rooms, etc. And then I had this talk about it. Like I was impressed in the beginning, right? About like you have a place where people can come and ask questions about submission, but then I saw it's like very different than that. It's like open place for everyone, and they can promote anything that they want, and people will like attacking others and talking in a way. Um, but yeah, but then it was all about numbers and and it's not the same as the messenger, the example of the messenger. So um, yeah. Oh, John says he was there. Yeah, like it's the same thing, right? And then you can clearly see that there is something. These things are wrong. It's not right. And then if you're going to stay there, you're going to become like them, and then you will think that you are righteous, right? You're gonna think, oh, I'm righteous. I'm doing well. I'm doing good, etc. But in reality, it isn't. The cause is not
Yeah,
the
because
same.
you'll be picking up all the doubts, all the convoluted ideas, being thrown at you. So you'll be very confused. You become like that. Like, excuse me. This is God's system, right? If you are with the like-minded people, you're going to become like them. That's why God says to force ourselves to be with the believers. So if you be with the believers, and then God says, do not befriend the hypocrites. Hypocrites are people with you. They talk like you. They say they believe like you, and they don't, right? And so you naturally, they dupe you, and if you think that they're submitters. Like there's many people who say they're submitters, but then from the teachings that they're promoting, you can tell they're promoting falsehood from Satan, and you force, and you be with these people, you'll become like them, right? So we're supposed to run for our lives from such people, so that we don't become like them, right? It's a serious thing, right? It's not about physical boundaries. You could be in a virtual place with these people. You could be in a physical place with these people. But you running for your life is for your protection. So you have to watch out for yourself first, and then care about the rest of the world and converting other people. God is going to bring people to submission anyways, and there's many ways you can do that without putting yourself in a place where you could go to hell yourself, right? So I think
Ye-
that's important.
Yeah, brother, and I want to add something. Like if our cause was to make more numbers, get higher numbers, then we would promote such a place, right? Like they say, okay, the people are coming and going, so let's promote more, so more people can come. But if there is injustice and there are like very bad things, then we should do the opposite. Like we shouldn't promote that, even if people come from there, right? But and in the end, God is the one who is guiding. Like people can come from there, and then in the end, they can also end up hypocrites. Like we have people coming in, and then what I found, brother, is people are submitters until there is a topic which affects them. Like some people, for example, when you say you need to disown the ones who are enemies of God, even if they are your parents, your children, or your spouses. And then you have someone who has a mother which is like an enemy of God, and she's old, and until that time they follow everything. But when they come to this command, they don't like it. They don't say, yeah, but this verse means something else. Or when you talk about, we had this too, like when you talk about intoxications. Yeah, but intoxication is like some kind of a medicine. Or about, what was it? The insurance, right? When you, like you have, like you promote that insurance is haram and is prohibited in Islam until you get the opportunity to have this insurance and profit from that because of a company, right? And then the table turns. You say, yeah, but this is like a blessing from God. Like that, like, so it's very important that our road is not a road where we change when it benefits us or not benefits us. Like it's a straight road, and this is the road and path of God, and we should follow that path.
Mm-hmm.
That's important for us.
Yeah, mashallah. I mean, we like the submission app, mashallah. Like hundreds of people sign up, on the app. But like, and we could like, have designed it in a way that all those people would get a call every time there's a Quran study, and those people could join the study too. But that wouldn't serve us in any way. But we can promote submission in so many ways. Our studies are broadcast, like I said, social media all the time. That's one way to convert people to submission. You can distribute Qurans to people. You can go to other platforms if you want to just invite people, invite them and leave. Whoever wants to take it will take it. You can have debates. Just have a specific event where you go like to a conference or something and debate with these people. That's what the messenger did. You could go to podcasts. Like he went to radio stations and debated. Have interviews with people. You can do that. So definitely there are ways to promote submission. If you want to promote submission, there are ways to do that, right? Without breaking other commandments.
Yeah, so but those places, they don't represent submission. You represent submission when you go there, and you are the one, and people are going to ask you, etc. But those places don't represent it because Jews come, atheists come, like a lot of people come. They argue in a way like it goes very hard. But and then again, it's all the the idea is to make the numbers higher. That's the goal. But that shouldn't be our goal. Our goal should be how can we grow our souls, and that's the whole thing actually.
Yes, if there are no other comments or questions, seems like there aren't, then we can conclude our study, God willing, unless someone has something to add. Mashallah. Okay. Okay, brother. So thank you all for joining. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Thank you for joining. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, mashallah.